So Samson, welcome on.
George, thank you for having me, mate. How you doing?
Very good, thank you. So I guess just to get started, for the people who don't know you, can you explain a little bit about who you are and what you do?
Yeah, of course. So my name's Samson Marks. I run an AI implementation and consulting firm, AIacquisition.co. We work with service providers, scaling them with a mix of AI systems and strategy. And I've been selling AI for the last 4.5 years, so a little while now.
Sick, nice. How did you get into it?
I really fell into it. So I started when I was kind of 15, 16 while I was in school in the marketing space. So basically just everyone was like, okay, online marketing agency, that's what you do. I know you were very similar. Started running social media and paid ads for a few companies. That kind of got me into the model. From there, I then finished school. That business had done okay. Few decent clients, but nothing particularly to shout about. And so got a job in banking. And then when I started that, I was kind of with the mindset of I don't want to be doing this long term. I need something where I can build it in the few hours that I have outside of work, which wasn't a lot. So that sort of led me into sort of software and no code automation to start with. So began just learning different software platforms like make.com, Zapier, GHL as well. They were the big ones at the time. So got very adept with no code automation. Started selling that in an agency model, basically building custom workflows, custom dashboards, kind of software setups as well for companies. Ran that for a year and a half and then transitioned to what we now do, which is a mix of the implementation, but the consulting as well. Because after working with a bunch of companies, you realize that a lot of people say they want one thing, but don't actually have the strategy for it anyway.
Yeah.
So we mix that kind of hybrid model, which has worked really well since. So
yeah.
To shortly answer your question, I really just learned through building rather than consuming, which I think has always been my approach is
nice.
Let me just do it and I will learn through necessity because my clients need it.
So for context, I started working with you a couple months ago, which has been an awesome experience.
Glad to hear it.
And before I started working with you, I think I had little to no AI really going on. And then now, I think a few months working with you, we've got a lot of stuff going on, which is really cool. So question, what do you think is some of the biggest 2 or 3 areas where agencies and coaches specifically are lacking when it comes to AI?
So obviously, so most of my work is with agencies, a lot of coaches in there as well, very similar processes. I think one of the biggest things that people get wrong is they start trying to find or implement tools and add systems without really knowing why, in terms of they'll look at a tool and be like, this is cool. How can we implement this into our processes? Rather than starting with the kind of first principles thinking, which is what is actually holding us back? What is the problem? And then using AI to solve that. So I think number one, what all agencies, coaches as well, need to be using is AI for tracking. So before they go and try and implement any kind of other systems, they should be using AI to centralize their data, have it translated into what they need to know in terms of the actual core metrics that matter to them. And then once they can see that and they've used AI to actually give them clarity on this is the bottleneck, these are the issues, these are our constraints, then based off of that information, going and finding the other systems and other tools that actually facilitate that. So I think people are getting it the wrong way around in terms of they're going to the platform first and the tool and the AI rather than figuring out the process first, understanding that clearly, why it matters, and then going and finding a kind of AI system or chat model or whatever it is to actually then go and improve it. So I think
people kind of go, oh yeah, Claude, GPT, whatever it is, Higgsfield. Yeah. They start there and then they kind of then go to the implementation, but it should really start in the reverse.
The other way around.
Think about what is the system that needs improving, what's broken, and then you find the best tool to fix it.
Yeah, precisely. And what you'll notice or what I've noticed with a lot of people who are trying to sell AI, they're going to companies and going what do you guys want, right? And they'll just give you a list of, oh, well, we saw this looked like it could be cool, this looked like it'd be cool, right? And the reason that I think most AI adoption is failing is because there's no one there actually holding them accountable and saying, but how does this even play into the strategy? How does this play into what you guys are trying to do? And is it even going to have any kind of impact? So I think that's number one, is probably tracking so that they actually have clarity. Then now they know what the problems are. I think for the most part, the common ones where AI can help a lot is content, number one. You, for example, had a copywriter.
Long gone.
Long gone. I think everything from the scripting, formatting, the distribution, all of that can be enhanced with AI. And I think then the key thing becomes, are you enhancing something that's actually good, or are you just like 10xing terrible content and just annoying people even quicker? So tracking content, and then...
Yeah, this is so interesting to me. Sorry to cut you off.
No.
On the topic of content, I want to go deep on this today, because me and you are both pretty into making content. Here we are, indeed, yes. So let's just pause on number 2. We've done tracking. Let's go into content. So talk to me a little bit about how you use AI to make your content.
Okay, so there's like sort of 3 stages that I would break it down into, maybe 4. I mean, so number 1 is like context engineering. So before you go and you want to try and build a prompt for a certain type of content, or before you go and try and get an AI that writes ad scripts for you, right? You want to spend the time to actually extract all of the context that a human copywriter would need to actually go and do a really good job. So like when I look at like an agent of any kind, I always explain to people, look at it as a person. If it was an employee that you'd hired, have you given them everything that they need in terms of training materials, instructions, guidance, resources to actually go and do what you want them to do and meet the quality? And if you haven't done that with an AI, you're going to get pretty poor output. So number 1, look at everything that is good. Do either competitor analysis on your own content, extract everything that has worked, and turn those into context profiles. So turn them into basically documents that AI understands of like, okay, this is how the speaker like communicates their ideas. This is how they explain problems. This is their worldviews. This is their tone of voice, the specific connectives they use. And you want to get it down to the point where you now have clearly documented, this is how you should sound. This is how you should speak. This is who you're speaking on behalf of.
Yeah.
And so that's the first step that I think a lot of people miss, is the context.
If you miss that, you end up sounding like AI slop.
Yeah, everyone sounds...
Which I see non-stop now.
Yeah, it's constant and it's annoying.
It's a bit of an existential problem, I think.
Yeah.
You know, because like when you log onto LinkedIn now, especially, it's awful. I mean, it's like unusable.
Every post, you read through everything. There's no human engagement.
Twitter's a little bit better.
Yeah, a bit more.
I think people like to... I think people are just a bit like clued up on Twitter. LinkedIn, people think like, oh yeah, no one's going to notice this.
No, let me just...
So, but like, I guess, you know, not to get too off topic, but do you see that as a problem? Like, how do you... Because I think a lot of people watching this will probably be concerned about like, how do I make sure that if I do use AI for my content, I don't sound like slop? And so the answer really is loading up the context, giving it things like YouTube practical. So giving things like YouTube videos, voice notes, voice recording, things like that.
Transcripts from calls as well, even just like you talking in your natural language and having that extracted. Yeah. So that's number 1. I think another key point when it comes to not just being generic AI slop is that you as the founder or whoever you are creating the content, I think you still need to be involved in ideation. Yeah. So my ideal way of doing things and how I do it for myself and everyone that we work with is like, AI should do the formatting, the scheduling, and everything around that. But when it comes to the ideation, I'm almost at the top feeding down voice notes. So as much as AI is turning it into a well-formatted LinkedIn post that, you know, is based on a bunch of data of what makes LinkedIn posts do well, the idea is coming from me and my reality, and it's a voice note, a thought that I've actually had. Yeah,
it's something current as well.
Yeah, it's something current. So it's like not having AI come up with the ideas, because it will come up with...
terrible ideation.
Yeah, it will be completely biased. It will come up with what it thinks is useful rather than an actual like unique contrarian take. And so I think focusing on the ideation yourself as the main part of content and then having AI below that, doing everything else.
And just to demystify this for people, what we're talking about here is creating projects. Yeah. We prefer Claude for content. Creating projects in Claude. You would have different projects for different platforms, right? X, LinkedIn, things like that. And then loading up the project files with a bunch of context.
Precisely.
Basically.
Yeah. So it's like, for whatever system you want, you need to, number 1, do the context engineering. So figuring out what context do I need to give this AI. Then you're giving it the instructions of how that system should actually work. So now it knows how to talk. Yeah. You basically explain to it, okay, when I input X, you're going to give me Y back. Yeah. And so that's like how I will always train them is, if I give you a voice note, a thought, an idea, just a little scribble, any small input, because like my ideas come to me when I'm walking down the street and they come in, you know, weird formats. Yeah. I'm then training the AI to take that, turn it into structured posts. And then I think a kind of step beyond that, which we've obviously implemented is like having a breakdown of text and visual systems. So kind of having like a hierarchy of ideation up here. Then we go down to those ideas go into text systems. For example, you've got your LinkedIn text, your X text, you've got your YouTube scripts. So one idea can become, 5 different mediums. And then you're taking that text and you're turning it into visuals. For YouTube, it might be a presentation. For short form, it might be diagrams that the editors use. For LinkedIn, it might just be a photo that complements the text. And so I think if you can build that system in full, then you're not only creating the copy, but you've got visuals paired with it as well.
I mean, that's huge, isn't it? Like, basically taking an idea a day, call it, and then turning that into all the different formats and using AI to help you. Because obviously, before you could do the whole idea into multiple formats thing, but it'd be very laborious because you'd have to go and get on Canva for the the LinkedIn stuff. You'd have to go and like hire this graphic designer for the carousels, blah 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 blah. Now you can use AI to do a lot of that for you, and so it just becomes about, I guess, really who has the best ideas,
100%,
and the best AI.
Yeah, well, I think like after a certain point, everyone will have like the access to good prompting understanding will be, everyone will have it. And then it's just a case of like the people who are actually doing it, coming up with ideas, documenting reality as well. I think those are the people that are going to do better than
It's really interesting, isn't it? I think I heard, what's his name? I think it's Luke Alexander. I don't know if you're familiar.
Yeah, I'm familiar.
He is building this, he's building an AI startup as well. And he went on a podcast, and I think he said something about like the most important thing when it comes to content eventually is just going to become taste. Like basically who has the best taste and who has the best ideas and things like that, because AI doesn't have taste.
No,
it's just it just executes.
And
so like, and I think that's really key, because like a lot of the reasons why you buy from someone who has a personal brand, in my opinion, is because of the way they live their life, their taste, things like that. Like when I pay mentors now, and when I buy information, I don't necessarily buy it because I've watched some like top 5 hacks YouTube video where I'm like blown away by the value. I buy it because I'm like, you are living a life that I would quite like to live, or you have an approach or an outlook on life that I share. And so I think it's going to be about transmitting that more than anything.
Yeah, I agree, because I think what you see constantly online at the moment with content is like everyone's recycling the same proven ideas. Because it works in terms of reach, like finding the same 5 Claude hacks that someone else talked about.
Oh my God. On my Explore page right now, it's like brutal. Claude plus Higgsfield equals 10K a month. It's like,
it's like, no, it doesn't.
It really doesn't.
No, so I think, it's like the people who are coming up with their own unique ideas and unique philosophy and then communicating that. I think all of those people are doing far better than the people who are just recycling the same ideas, because they just sound like everyone else, and no one's going to buy into someone where they're like, I can get the exact same from 10 different YouTube channels. Like people want the individuality, I think.
It's honestly it's mind-blowing, to be honest with you, and I think it's really dangerous for beginners as well. Like, instead of working on a business or working on an idea, they're sat there scrolling, commenting for the latest Claude MCP or latest Claude skill or whatever. What do you make of that? Like, what do you make of AI as almost a distraction?
I think for most people it is a distraction, to be honest. I think if we look before AI, there was still the kind of, I think you used the term as like entrepreneurs, right? People who love to consume the content, and on paper they know tons, but they've executed on barely any of it. Right? And so I think that's what a lot of people are doing, is they will consume a bunch of new information about AI, execute on
none of it.
None of it or a fraction of it, see no tangible result, and then go and get the next one and go and download the next skill and see if that's any better. And they will constantly be chasing this loop, whereas the people who are pushing this stuff are just, for the most part, trying to sell their school community. And so like the stuff they're giving out isn't necessarily useful. So I think a lot of people, for example, if you haven't got 5 clients to your name, then like, why are you trying to build a crazy dashboard? Just fix your offer, fix your conversion, fix your sales, like go back to the basics. So I think, a lot of people just miss that they don't have the foundations in place, and then they're trying to add flourishes. Like that's going to solve their problems.
I think it's a dangerous game as well, because like you have to use AI in the right way. If you use it in the wrong way and you just end up outputting a lot of AI slop, you can destroy your brand.
Yeah.
Because people will see that and be like,
I don't want
all right, that's it. Like, yeah, you can honestly break your trust with people in one post.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm really cautious of this, and I've probably messed it up in the past, but like, you know, if I post some slop on Twitter or LinkedIn, you know, and like a bunch of people, like high level people see that, they're like, all right, this guy's just, you know, he's on the chat. Yeah, exactly. Another one of them. And then it's like the trust breaks. So you don't have a lot of chances with your personal brand, you know?
No, I agree. And I think like, lost my point there.
Yeah, no, but we can go back to where we were. So tracking content was number 2. What was the third one? Do you remember?
I think it sort of feeds. I think there's 2 things. So tracking and this kind of feeds into the same thing. I think lead capture and just like knowing your pipeline better. I think a lot of people don't place importance on it. Yeah. And they're just like, okay, let me more content, and they use AI for that, which can definitely be useful. But it's like if you're not building up an actual managed pipeline through that content, then it's useless. So I think capturing all your leads, putting them into one place, communicating that to any kind of sales team, I think is really important as well. Yeah. And then I think more people need to look at AI, if you're an agency, for example, both in your delivery, but also like your operations as well, like internally. So when it comes to like enabling your team, for example, you can have a much leaner team now with fewer team members. But if you upskill them and they understand how to use AI really well, then, for example, a VA can act as a high-level head of operations because they're using AI that's trained as a high-level head of operations. So you can make less skilled people far more skilled by just giving them that understanding. Really interesting. And then I think in terms of like delivery, and this is something that I think you've somewhat been exploring as well, is like the traditional agency model. And what I've seen over the last like 4 years is everyone who ran a traditional marketing agency now has some kind of AI in their service, simply because it's like a buzzword, people want to explore it, and so they feel like it's a necessity. They should be using it to productize everything that they've previously been doing for clients. So changing it so that instead of people paying for you to then go outsource the work to some media buyer in a third world country, for example, instead having AI systems that they have access to that they can then use. And then the stuff that does involve people, it's like you gradually move up in terms of like how leveraged it is, because anything that's below a certain level, it's like if AI can do that, then when we're spending time together, we should just be focusing on like these things. Yeah. So I think using it to probably remove the need in delivery for doing every single little thing and having ways that your clients can still get the same kind of value, but without you actually having to go and do it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, what's really impressive about you as well, and you can share numbers if you want, I won't share them for you, but you've reached a very decent level of revenue with an extremely small team. It's like you, VA, and 2 setters. Yeah, that's it.
Editor as well, but
and an editor. Yeah, which is crazy. So can you talk to me a little bit about like how you've managed that and how you kind of view team structure?
Yeah, it's a weird one. So like when I was starting out, for some reason, like team members just never even occurred to me as an option. It never even like crossed my mind that I could hire people. And it's really only been out of necessity over the last like 6 months where I realized, okay, as great as AI is, I need someone who can now be managing it. So I think for me, given the experience that I had in like automation and just like workflow building as well, my initial thought with any process was just naturally, if it was tech-based, which basically everything I do is, if it's on a computer, my natural thought is, okay, how can I build a system for this? And I would always do that first. And I think that served me really well, because I got to a certain point very much as just a solo founder with a very small sales team and an editor, not even a VA at the time. I got to a really good point with that by having really effective systems that did a lot of the the onboarding and the client management and the task tracking, everything around that was very much streamlined because of it. And so when I did then hire, I had a bunch of processes that were already mapped out, semi or fully automated. And then by bringing a VA into that, I just basically taught her everything that we currently do, figured out where she could add value and the things that, like those little gaps in between where automation couldn't kind of Bridget, and then I'm having her do that. So I think from a perspective of building a team, it's like for most people, especially like startups, you should be looking at ways that AI can do it first. If it's something that's based on like a computer, simply because you can have a whole task done for, $30 a month in spend. And as much as people might look at a VA for $500 a month and think that's an absolute bargain, yes, but start with the cheaper alternative that can probably do considerably more, and then figure out the gaps where, a person is needed. So,
yeah. I think there's a real potential that's never been there before for a team of, a founder and a VA and maybe a setter to do like $100 grand a month.
100%.
Which is crazy, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, that's our goal. We're not too far off, but that's what we're working towards.
Yeah. It's crazy. It's like the whole one-man agency thing.
Yeah, I think it will be a much more common like business model in terms of like the agency model will shift to be, there'll just be one person who's the face of the business.
Yeah.
But then everything in terms of the delivery in the background will just be a mix of AI systems. And then, as you said, it's like the most successful agencies will be the ones with the most well-trained AI.
And the best brands.
Yeah, I think that's
important.
Yeah, two things. It's like the branding, the personal touch, people will buy into that.
Yeah.
But in the background, it will most likely be the actual delivery of it, and the delivery of the value will be who's got, really well-trained systems.
Yeah, it kind of makes the agency model like, it's going to make the agency model like probably like the best business model in like
100%.
if you imagine this, if this happens, right? So what are the issues with the agency business model at the moment? Well, the issue is it requires a lot of people, right? To scale to a big level.
Point, yeah.
A ton of people. I mean, I experienced it scaling Paid House to 200K a month. We had like 30 people, I think, full time. And the issue with that is, well, their margins come down and complexity goes up, and it's a massive headache and it's a massive issue. Blah, blah, blah. But if you can get to the point where, you don't need all those people, you have the benefits of recurring revenue, you now have extremely high profit margins, you have a service that's really easy to sell because it's done for you and you don't have to jump through hoops like you do with info sometimes. And it's, productizable like a software. It almost kind of becomes a little bit like a SaaS in a certain way.
Yeah.
So it's really interesting. Yeah. I think you're onto something.
I think, to be fair, I think weirdly right now, a lot of people who are branding themselves as agencies probably are more of a SaaS.
Yeah.
Like they're claiming that, they've got this team in the background, but really it's them, a VA, and a bunch of agents that are doing various different things.
Yeah.
And so I think the productized model, the software model is, definitely a good one to be looking at.
What do you think about the overall like AI agency movement? Because,
well, I've seen a lot. I've spoke to a lot of AI agency owners or supposed AI agency owners. As I mentioned, I think one of the biggest things that people get wrong is that they think that they can go learn some AI skills and that's immediately going to make them valuable in the marketplace. Right? So they get really good at Claude. They get really good at vibe coding using platforms like Cursor, Lovable, for example.
Yeah.
And then they think that immediately means that if they go to companies and show them what they can do, that's valuable. Whereas I think a lot of them just don't have the general business understanding of what most businesses actually care about, which isn't AI, right? It's never been about AI. It's never been about any mechanism or way of delivering a result. It's the outcome. It's the result that they care about. And I think, a lot of people miss that, and they're not trying to sell AI or implement AI in a way that the client is going to see a direct like attribution to revenue, right? So it's like they're adding fancy things. The amount of people and companies as well are making this mistake is, someone shows them a super shiny dashboard, right, that looks really cool, and they're like, oh, this must solve our problems.
Yeah.
But then you look at the data it's tracking and it's useless, doesn't help anyone make decisions, and it just adds complexity. So I think that's one thing with the model which I don't like, is I think people are just forgetting the fundamentals of business and problem solving.
Yeah.
And they're just trying to basically flog AI because it's a buzzword. Another thing is that you've got too many people claiming to be experts when they were introduced to AI 6 months ago, a year ago, which is the same time that most of the founders they're speaking to also got introduced to it.
Yeah.
And they're acting like they have some kind of edge just because they've been, they've vibe coded a couple platforms in the last 6 months. So I think there's a really good opportunity for people who have already run successful businesses or already understand the way a specific industry works, like those are the people who will actually do better selling AI. And if I look at some of my clients, it's not the people who like have done very well. It's not the people who are like, I just want to sell AI. This is an AI this is a cool AI idea that I've seen. Let me go try sell this. It's the people who have been in an industry.
AI receptionist.
Precisely, right? It's like, it's the people who have been in an industry.
Those people are so cooked.
Oh, dreadful. Yeah, they don't stand a chance. But the people who are in an industry have seen the problems that their companies face, have seen like a clear, like validated demand for a solution, and then come to me and gone, this is something that we should be building. I've seen this in my job. Like example, I've got this client, Finley. He worked in a construction company. He recognized that his own job, right, he was getting paid like 30 grand a year along with 5 other people getting paid the same amount for a task that was really taking a document, analyzing it, comparing it to some other documents, and then outputting it in a certain place. That's now something where it's like, okay, I know if I can build a system for that, I've immediately got, 150 grand a year as an anchor to charge for.
Yeah.
And like, if people can go find those really big anchors where there's a clear cost save or revenue like capture, then those are the people that will do well in an AI agency model, not the AI receptionist floggers.
Yeah, no, 100%. I also think it's like, at the end of the day, what do companies want, right? Like they want growth. You know what I mean? Like it's trading money for money. So I feel like it's easier to still sell a lot of the kind of traditional services in terms of lead generation, marketing, growth, and things like that, but just use AI to fulfill, That's kind of what I would say.
Yeah. Or take what they're already doing. So again, it's same thing that I said. It's like validated demand. It's like, stop trying to sell something that you have no idea if anyone wants.
Yeah.
Like, companies will always pay for lead generation. If you can give them systems that improve their current lead generation, make it cheaper, more effective, increase the speed to lead by using AI, that's what they care about, and that's what you should focus on. They won't care that you're using AI to do it. They'll just care that you've got a system that can improve their current business model.
All right, so you work with a lot of different clients.
Yep.
When it comes to AI implementation.
Large range.
Somewhat rapid fire here. What are the lowest hanging fruit automations or implementations of AI that you seem to repeatedly, implement for companies? Like, what are the patterns that you're seeing? What are some of the easiest ones that people could go away and do today or attempt to do by themselves today?
Okay, that's a good question. I think, number one, it's the boring basic stuff that isn't fancy or flashy, right? So like, I'll just give some examples. I'm working currently with a real estate company, an insurance company. Neither of them necessarily needed anything crazy. They didn't need a crazy Claude setup.
Yeah.
And a lot of it was just general like automation with AI in certain places. So it was really just around like lead management, right? So literally just having a cleaner pipeline, having the tracking automated, having the follow-up automated, having the like CRM management and tagging, having those things automated, having the communication to a sales team or any kind of team member automated as well. I think like a lot of people as well trying to sell AI will try and sell stuff that's all the way up here without realizing that majority of SMEs don't need it and they need the basics done well, which is what we end up focusing on a lot. I think in terms of lowest hanging fruit, stuff that's like always a given is probably content systems number one. So like any company that's like trying to be consistent with content, the scripting, the visuals as well, being able to replicate ads and create 15 variations of those. I find that those are very common applications because even for simple things like optimizing a social media profile or, being able to split test more ads in a campaign, simply just by having an understanding of how you can use AI to do that, I find that that's like an immediate benefit. I think another one is having your own like custom LLMs trained on your data. So any like agency, right, and I've done this a lot of times now, is like take everything that you know or everything that you do for clients, put that into a GPT. I know you've got like a similar one now as well. That's now something where your clients can self-serve or your team can get better answers to help your clients as well. And that's like a super simple like process of just, gather everything that you know, condense it into some context that you give to
Such a good one. Like, everyone needs to do this right now. Like, take all your YouTube videos, take all your calls, take all your course material if you have any. Take everything, and I guess there's probably going to be a bit more technicality, but for lack of a better phrase, just throw it into a GPT, get that link, like a custom GPT, and just give it to your team. And then, as you say, they can kind of, you're probably going to get, if you're watching this, you're probably getting your team members coming to you asking you the same questions over and over again.
Yeah, exactly.
That is definitely something where, a custom GPT that's kind of trained on all of your stuff would come in handy.
Yeah. And then, to be fair, I think just a caveat to all of that is that the biggest one, and I'd say we almost end up implementing things like this across like all of our clients in a range of different formats, is the tracking side of things. Is like most companies, as big as they get, like you'd be surprised they don't really know their numbers. Like working with an insurance company, they're doing $1 million a month, and they didn't have KPIs, they didn't know what to tell their sales team. It was basically just, here's some numbers, call as many as you can, we'll try and make as much as we can, but they had no idea of like what they needed to do to scale. So I think it's very easy now to connect platforms and bring things into one place. So like if you look at your tech stack and you've got, Calendly over here, you've then got GHL over here, you've got some other data over here in a different platform. I think immediately companies can see a benefit by just sending that to one platform that then translates it into what they need to know, which then should be the kind of driver for any decisions they make after that. And that's kind of what we do. It's like, I'm not going to say to a company, you need to implement this system if I've got no data that's telling me that they need that. Do you know what I mean? Because then it's just like I'm adding complexity for no reason. Like, number one, do we understand what the problems are, where the drop-off is? Now that we know that, then we can figure out what else we need to do. So I think, data tracking is probably the biggest one that will make the big difference for people as well.
Yeah. Should I mention your software?
Give it a plug. Yeah.
Well, Completely has been huge for me. Basically, long story short, you have custom coded or using AI, a kind of centralized tracking dashboard for marketing, sales, everything like that. It kind of almost acts as a CRM as well. And that's been huge. Like I've cancelled softwares just to use this because, and I think this goes for like a lot of businesses, not necessarily saying that you have to use Completely, although you should.
You should.
But just having something custom.
Yeah.
Like it's so frustrating to have to use the interfaces of CRMs and pre-built softwares that aren't actually designed for your business.
Yeah.
Like a coaching business operates in a very different way to, a insurance agency or whatever, a recruiting company. And so like, being able to, even just being able to talk to you and be like, hey, we need this feature added, that feature added. Exactly. You can customize it to your needs. So whether you use a software like that or whether you build your own, I think using AI to build something custom for your business when it comes to tracking is huge because obviously everyone knows that understanding of your numbers, what isn't tracked can't be improved.
Yeah.
And having an understanding of your numbers allows you to scale so much more. Like I wake up every day, I open up the dashboard and I'm looking at like the central numbers. What's my CPA? What's my cost per call? What am I spending? What's our close rate? What's our show rate? My setters in there, sort of optimizing it. So I think honestly, that would be my choice. If I had to tell anyone to implement one AI thing, it would be build something that can take all your data from all your platforms and just consolidate it.
Yeah, 100%. And like for anyone watching, like I built Completely out of necessity originally because I'd used every CRM under the sun. Like I'd used GHL for years, I'd used HubSpot, I'd used iClose briefly as well. And none of them were able to do everything that I wanted. Like they all did little bits and pieces, or they would be good at bringing the data but not translating it for me.
Yeah, I could never go back, No. The inability to like add stuff that you actually need sucks.
Yeah. I know, and what I mean? Think how quick we can now do it. Like you can, like you've at times just messaged me saying it'd be super useful if I could have this. And like this is the great thing about having a platform that is not owned by a massive corporate is like I can take those recommendations and go, oh, that would actually be useful. And I can add it in half an hour and I can get AI to just implement it, publish it. And now you've got an even better platform. And I think, if more people can do that, they will, instead of having a problem being like, oh, I don't know what to do about that, they can just add a feature that enables them to now see that or manage it or just whatever they need to actually fix it.
Yeah, 100%. So let's talk about acquisition.
Let's do it. Your favorite topic.
I'm so excited. We've covered like a little bit about fulfillment, operations, implementation, that kind of thing. But your approach to acquisition is really interesting. Learned a lot from you.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I've always been a direct ads guy. Really up until recently, where I've started to implement a lot more content and what we call the profile funnel or the follower ads funnel.
Mm-hmm.
I guess, how did you fall into that method of acquisition? Why did you go that route? Because I feel like you're quite rare in that respect. I think a lot of people, they're more in the direct response
marketing,
direct response style, whereas you've kind of gone a different way, and I'm also recommending a lot of people go a different way as well.
So I think for me, it was like the way that I started, or at least the way I started monetizing like the personal brand, was it was just through content, right? So it was, my main focus was not necessarily how can I sell to this audience. It was how can I build a brand more than anything, and then I can sell anything. And so it started out, I was just posting content, and just through posting content and not doing CTAs and not pitching people, which bear in mind you do need to do, but I wasn't doing it. And I was still getting people inquire through that. Simply just by going, like, what you're talking about is interesting. I want to see how you might be able to help, right? And so my then approach to ads was, I just want to get my philosophies and my ideas that I know are good, which bear in mind a few. Like, it's not like I'm trying to push out a million different angles. I have the kind of core philosophies of my brand, the core things that I believe in, the core ways that I look at business. And my thought process was always, how can I put those in front of more people? Because as long as more people know me for this core idea or this way of thinking, then I will be the go-to for that kind of, for the people that resonate with that. And so when it came to then running kind of like profile ads and more so just pushing content with spend, I was simply looking at the videos and going, this communicates my message really well. And even if I spend and I don't get a direct like conversion from it, I know that I'm putting that message further out there and I'm having more people associate me with that message. And if I can do that on a long enough time frame, then I will be known for a certain thing.
I feel like when you're selling AI, you have a lot of options like open to you. Right? You can make a lot of things work because you're selling AI. Like, you can make cold email probably.
I probably could.
You can make cold DM work. You can make a lot of things work because the offer is such a buzzword. So why did you go down the personal brand route, which is arguably a bit of a slower payoff? And how long did it take for it to pay off for you? And when did you start?
I believe I started... So originally when I started the personal brand, I was just running the agency, and I was literally just with the mindset of like, I'm just going to document. Never had any plan to like sell anything to my audience. I was like, I'm just going to document the business that I'm running. I started it year and a half, maybe 2 years ago now, personal brand.
Cool.
Definitely took a lot of trial and error. For a long time, I didn't really know what I was doing. It was just, I'm going to put content out there that is stuff that I believe in. I'm just going to keep doing that for a long enough time frame. Then when it came to actually having a strategy around it that converted my viewers, bear in mind, like, most of our clients now all just come through my socials. Like, you get a lot of like companies literally just reaching out saying, like, we just need an AI guy. You look credible. Can we hop on a call? That kind of thing. And so for me, at least with the content strategy, like, I think a common thing, especially with selling AI, is like, I could have gone down the route of, let me post every tip and trick and kind of hack and Claude skill, and let me post that 10 times a day. And
you end up becoming one of those guys.
And I just remember thinking, like, I listen to what they're saying, and I'm like, most of these guys have no idea what they're talking about, or they have no idea how this would actually apply to business. And so I was always thinking, how can I differentiate myself from them? Let me just talk about my philosophy and how AI feeds into that. And again, it's like, as long as I can push that out long enough, then I know that people are going to see me as a credible source in the market. So to answer your question around like why the personal brand, for me, especially in AI, I thought, if I want to differentiate myself, I need to be known in a certain way, right? With a unique kind of take and contrarian angle. And then I need to be showing that I know what I'm talking about with AI as well, so that people come to me for it versus, you know, the guy just like giving out hacks. And I just think, like, in terms of compounding, like, I probably could have made more in the beginning if I was running a direct offer VSL funnel or cold email funnel, or I was having a cold calling team. Like, I could have got quicker results. But then I look at the personal brand, month on month, it just gets easier to convert people because you're just building up more credibility,
Crazy, eh?
more social proof. And then
Yeah.
like, I remember after a certain point, I looked at my profile on Instagram and I was like, well, I'm never going to be broke again because I've got 2 years of documented proof that I know what I'm talking about. I only sell AI. I haven't gone from, you know, a coach for this to a, you know, creative director, whatever it is, right? I've stuck with that, and that credibility is now there, documented. No one can take it away. And it's like I now fully own my acquisition, which is just that, you know, single Instagram profile and a YouTube channel for the most part.
Yeah, really interesting stuff. Yeah, I mean, like, you know, I've kind of had a bit of a journey with what I talk about over the course of this year, because I came into this, obviously started this kind of personal brand really recently, actually about 6 months ago, more or less, started pushing what I talk about now. And at the start, I was like, you know, direct VSL funnel, direct VSL funnel, direct VSL funnel, because that's obviously what helped us scale at Paid House. But I will say, look, direct VSL funnel is a fantastic tool to get to like $1 million a month. You know what I mean? Like it's, or a couple, like high hundreds of thousands a month. It's arguably like quite necessary. And it's quite hard to do that with just personal brand unless you're at a huge level. But I think to get to your first 100 grand a month, personal brand is probably better, and content and profile ads and pushing your spend there, because you're going to get much easier sales calls, much warmer sales calls. Everything's going to be a lot more profitable. You're going to also set yourself up for success with a VSL funnel, because running a VSL funnel when you've got zero content and zero brand makes everything a lot harder. So I feel like my journey, you know, is kind of like get your brand and get content and get everything to a point where you're really comfortable and you're making lots of profit and you're kind of secure and safe. And then when you can take big swings and big risks, that's when you come in with like a cold VSL funnel or a cold webinar funnel, and that's will be your play to get to
100%. I think that's like the kind of standard scaling pathway for like a personal brand, is like just through organic and just pushing content, you can get up to a certain point. But then now that you have an audience and you have proof that you're credible in a certain space, you then go run a cold webinar funnel compared to someone who's just running that but doesn't have the personal brand, doesn't have the credibility. It's like you're going to absolutely crush.
This is what I'm pushing as well. It's like people look at the moment at organic content and ads so separately, and the reality is they're not at all. And this is what I'm trying to like wage war against, because if you look at the space, and maybe this is futile, but we'll see. If you look at the space, it's like you got the organic guys, and then you got the ads guys, and the ads guys are like, oh, organic sucks, and organic guys are like, oh, you know, ads are expensive. In reality, it's like, dude, they're the same, and they complement each other perfectly. Like it's 2026. If you run a cold ad to someone, I don't know about you, but the first thing I do is I click on their profile.
100%.
And I'm like, all right, this is a bold offer. Let's check this guy out. What's his credibility? And if I see, first of all, if I can't click the page and it's just like he's running ads through a Facebook profile, I'm like, right, this is a scam.
Game over.
And then, you know, if I do click the page and there's just no content there, he's got 64 followers, I'm like, all right, come on, mate.
Come on now.
Like, what kind of pyramid scheme is this?
What's with the guarantee of 90 clients in 90
days? Exactly. And that's why you have to do guarantee marketing, by the way, is because you don't have brand, you don't have reputation, you don't have trust. Right? That's what forces you to have a guarantee to make this work.
With it.
Exactly. Whereas, you know, if you've got years of content and you've got following, you've got history, you've got trust, you've got loads of case studies, you really don't need a guarantee.
No.
You really don't. And so, you know, like they really are one and the same. And like, you know, the reason why I don't think building a personal brand is optional is because if you think about the flow of that, right? Like, you know, you're running your cold ads, that's great. You need to make sure you've got content there. When someone does click on your profile, they're then going to start seeing your content. They're going to start going through the content, getting nurtured by it. They might follow you. If they follow you, it's game over, because now they're seeing your stories, your retargeting ads.
Consistently.
You know what I mean? And so, yeah, I think the people that build up their brand will have a much easier time scaling to, you know, huge numbers.
Definitely. And I think, like, if you look at it from like a ROAS perspective, it's like with a personal brand, you're unlocking like extra ROAS because you'll see the immediate return from the people that take action. But then the people that now know about you, have seen your face, maybe end up following. It's like maybe the sales cycle is a bit longer. Maybe it takes like 2 months, but that person may eventually come through simply because they saw that initial ad and they've now become a follower. And so like you're not only capturing all the people that are immediately going to take action. But by running ads and then also having a personal brand, you're capturing all the people that, you know, maybe aren't ready, but they now associate you with a certain thing. And on a long enough time frame, as long as you keep posting and they keep seeing your stuff, they'll eventually come through.
Yeah, exactly. You know, I speak to a lot of agency owners on this channel. I think as a coach, you have no choice. Like, you kind of have to build a personal brand.
Yeah, 100%.
But I would say the majority of agency owners, by far, that I talk to, don't have any kind of content out there.
No.
They've just scaled through cold calling or cold email or maybe direct ads as well. So, and I think there's probably a lot of them sitting here watching this thinking, oh, yeah, you know, this all sounds good, but it's 2026. Like, it's too late. It's too saturated. What would you say to that?
Well, I remember thinking the same thing when I started my personal brand like 2 years ago, thinking, you know, have I kind of missed the wave?
Yeah.
Right? And it was the same thing with AI. Bear in mind, I was in it 4 years ago when I started learning AI. I was building AI Receptionist before there was softwares where you could build it in one place. I was connecting different tools to make it work. And I remember thinking that AI was saturated then. And I remember thinking, am I too late to this? Simply because I knew people that were ahead of me. And I think that's what everyone does, is like they will just compare someone's like step 100 to their step 1.
Yeah.
And it's like both with any kind of thing like AI or content, it's like there's no such thing as saturation in a personal brand, because you're an individual. If you start it, there's no competition of like who you are.
Yeah.
And I just don't think people should be comparing.
Yeah. Yeah, I totally agree. Like, I know this is a little bit cliche, but you kind of do put yourself in a market of one when you build a brand, because especially as an agency owner, like if you're trying to sell through cold email or cold calling or even direct ads, like you really then are a bit of a commodity, you know, unless you have some crazy wacky out the box guarantee or service. If you're just selling, you know, your email marketing or your, you know, ads or your SEO, you are a commodity. Now, can you make that work with the right guarantee and the right offer and the right sales process? Yes, absolutely. But if you have a brand, you are kind of in a market of one, because it's not just that you sell SEO. It's like it's Fred's SEO or it's Michael's way of doing SEO or it's Chris's philosophy towards SEO. And, you know, if you think about your market, firstly, your market is probably way bigger than you think it is. And secondly, it's like, you know, at the end of the day, you don't really know how many other creators they're following. They might just be following you, or you might be their favorite. And over a long enough time horizon, they're 100% going to go with you, and it's probably going to be the easiest sales call of your life when they actually decide to convert.
Yeah, definitely. And I think if you compare to other channels of acquisition, it's like, okay, if you're doing cold email or paid ads, it's like as soon as you stop sending emails or as soon as you turn off the ad spend, it's like the business goes quiet. Suddenly no clients are coming in because no one's seeing you. Whereas once you've built a brand and you're known for a certain thing in a certain space, it's like I could do nothing in terms of advertising or marketing for a month and I would still get inquiries and I would still have people reaching out or getting referrals from different people that are like, oh, you know, I heard of you through so-and-so. It's like, think of it as your network, but online. And if you can build it to a certain point where you're just credible among a wide range of people, then you never really have to worry about acquisition.
I think the thing about brand is it's very powerful because it essentially drives CAC down to zero.
Yeah.
Right. If you think about it, like if you have a big enough brand, you know, like people come through, it's essentially free. Now, technically not really, because you've got software and editors and whatever, but like it drives it towards zero.
Yeah.
Whereas with ads, the more you scale, it's only going to get more expensive because you go to cold and cold audiences, ads get more expensive every single year, your CAC will only go up. Whereas with personal brand, it will probably progressively go down as you get more and more famous.
Yeah,
exactly.
And you get more people just coming to you saying, I'm ready to go.
And that's how you build an extremely profitable business, because you've got extremely low CAC. I mean, for context, my CAC, my cost of acquiring a customer with a VSL funnel for all of 2025 sat around $2,000 to $2,500. Even creeping up to $3,000 in some months. Now my CAC is like $500, $400 with the profile funnel, because people are way warmer. People are coming in, you know, and buying way easier. Now, obviously there's trade-offs. Like you can't throw thousands of dollars a day into the profile funnel.
Keep those same numbers, but
if I could, I would be, trust me.
Oh, 100%.
So there are trade-offs, and that's the thing. I'm not preaching necessarily one funnel over the other. It's just like I have a lot of clients coming to me being like, oh, what strategy should I use? Oh, I've seen you talking about the follower ads funnel. Should I do that? Should I do VSL? It's like, you should really, there's a big case for doing a lot of different funnels, having a lot of like diversification across funnels, right? Like I think for me, where I want to get to is I want to have follower ads, webinar, and VSL and retargeting all going at the same time. Now, I probably need to hire a few marketing team members to make that happen, but that is definitely like my goal.
No, yeah, mine's basically the same. It's like I was speaking to my sales team like literally the other day. We were talking about we've got tons of traffic through your profile, and we know that that's not going to suddenly stop. That will be a consistent way that we can book calls. If we can then add a kind of one-to-many sales process with a webinar funnel and also capture a lot of that audience that have maybe been sitting around and they just need something for them to take action, if we can give them a 1 hour call, I think like both will complement each other so well.
Yeah.
And then you build up, like, as you build up your personal brand, especially if you're running like webinars once a week, for example, it's like there will always be an opportunity to get them onto something. Like you can always get them onto the next webinar. You can always do a CTA to your audience and get the new people onto the next webinar. And it's like you're just consistently giving them opportunities to be nurtured and end up coming through.
Yeah. So talk to me about your sales team. Actually, first off, I guess inflammatory question: are AI setters there yet or not?
I've built a lot of AI setters in my time. I think there's a place for them, definitely. I think, companies that have massive social followings and are getting thousands and thousands of inquiries, definitely more effective to have an AI setter that qualifies and routes them to the right places rather than trying to have a human go through and manage 1,000 DMs a day. Yeah. Right. So there is a place for them. I think for the most part, there's still value in having a person, right? Being able to adjust the strategies. It's like with an AI setter, you're training it on a certain conversation and you're training it to follow these kind of guidelines, and it's all just conditional logic. If they say this, you say this. If they say something like this, you say this. And yes, you can get that up to a certain point where it's good, but I think the nuance is what it misses. And I think if you're selling B2B especially, there's a certain level of sophistication when it comes to appointment setting that's required. It's like if you sound bluntly put like an idiot, then no one wants to hop on a call with you. Yeah. Right. And maybe you could train an AI to that point, but I think when it comes to the nuance of understanding a specific person's, their funnel, their way of operating, their team structure, I don't know whether an AI setter is really there yet in terms of capability, which is why I've traditionally stuck with people. What I would look at more so for most people is, rather than trying to fully replace your sales team with AI callers and AI setters across the board, I would say, well, number one, split test. If you get a better result with them, great. I'm yet to see many people get better results with AI setters versus human setters, especially if you're doing any kind of dialing. I know yes, you can do more volume, but in terms of the conversion rate when someone picks up, a human's always going to do better. What I would look at more is how can we use AI to get rid of the non-value adding tasks that an appointment setter does. So for example, my focus with the two people that do our appointment setting was, how can we get it to a point where they're solely focused on conversation, right? So for example, the initial outbounds, the initial outbound, the follow-ups, the tracking as well of the conversations, the coming up with answers to objection handling. If I can implement AI systems that mean they don't have to do that, it means more of their time is spent on actual conversations, which is where I see them as very valuable and where they actually make the money. So for most people, I would say ignore the people who are telling you that they've got an AI appointment setter that's going to, completely smash your setter out the water.
It's a great sales pitch, isn't it?
It's a great sales pitch, and it's the dream, right? Yeah. It's like, yeah, that would be great if I could have an AI who just messages people all day and actually does a good job. I think for the most part, especially when it comes to the nuance that, especially in like a B2B market, you need someone who understands it slightly more so that they can change their way they're talking depending on who they're talking to. Yeah. Whereas an AI will be trained with a set tone of voice, and that will apply to most people, but not everyone. And so, yeah, that would be my kind of thoughts on it.
Yeah, interesting. So talk to me about appointment setting then. So I
Okay.
think a lot of people watching this probably
Mm.
won't have an appointment setter in place.
Okay.
Very rare for agencies to have appointment setters as well. I think it's much more common
Yeah.
for coaches to have them. How have you, like, first of all, when do you think someone should hire an appointment setter?
Mm-hmm.
Secondly, how do you hire someone good?
Mm.
And then thirdly, how do you manage them and make sure they're being effective?
Yeah. So I think in terms of when to hire someone,
Yeah.
I always go based off of a proven process. So, for example, if you're sending DMs or you're dialing or you're doing any kind of appointment setting, regardless of the channel, what I'm looking for is proof that, for example, if I send 100 DMs, I know that that's going to equal 1 call.
Yeah.
Once I have data that tells me that, and I've proven that myself, that's now the time where I can go to a setter and say, okay, we've got this system here. We're going to give you all the leads. You have the opportunity to make this amount based on our data from last month. So you can give people like an on-track earnings, and you can tell them, okay, if you do this amount of DMs per day or this amount of calls per day,
yeah,
if you meet the conversion rate that we're aiming for based on last month, this is how many calls you should book. This is our close rate. This is how much we should close. This is how much you'll then make as a result.
Yeah.
If that's something you're interested in. So that's the point. It's not like I see some people saying, oh, you have to do your own appointment setting up until 20K a month, or you've got to do your own appointment setting until 10K a month. And I'm like, no, just as soon as I know that a process works and I've got 100 DMs equals 1 call, I want to hire someone who can do that all day, every day, so that I don't have to focus on it because I know that it works. And as long as you've got a proven process, you've documented why it worked, and you've documented what you did, then that's when I would say you would outsource it. The only kind of caveat to that is, like, when you are starting, it is important that you speak to your audience yourself so that you understand them and you understand what kind of conversations.
What pain points, yeah.
Yeah, because I've seen a lot of, and anyone who's hiring appointment setters, you'll have a lot of people coming in thinking that they know better,
yeah,
and that they are going to know how to set your appointments more than you are.
Yeah.
Whereas I think for me, like, I've always reinforced, like, I have spoken to my audience a lot on sales calls, in the DMs. I know what they care about. I know what they resonate with. Unless you've set my specific audience for my specific offer, you don't know more than what we know currently. And so as long as you follow this process, I know that it's going to work better. So yeah, I think once you know what works, then you try and outsource it. Then what was the second question around that?
How you manage them? Like, how do you sort of get them to the point where they're booking multiple calls a day?
Yeah. So, okay, there's a few things that you need to kind of focus on. It's accountability, number one, and then upskilling. So for me, like, accountability is one of the biggest parts. Is like, in order for us to have this as a predictable acquisition system, obviously if I've mapped out that this amount of DMs equals a call, I need to know that you're doing that every single day. So giving a set of responsibility of, this is what you're responsible for, this is how much volume you need to do to make how much you want to make, and almost align it with their goals rather than your own, and say, like, I want to get you to this point that you want to get at, this is the volume that's required. And then holding them accountable with things like end of day forms, having softwares, for example, like Completely, where they can track it and log it. And again, similar with the kind of tracking side of things, it's like, if you can hold them accountable to log their, like, inputs, but then also be able to show them the data that's produced and actually give them the feedback of, like, okay, based on your last week, this was your reply rate, this was your booking rate.
Yeah.
And giving them that feedback loop, I think, is really important, because it's one thing telling someone you need to be doing this, but if they can't see the impact of it, and they can't see how the extra work that they've done has actually increased the kind of results, then I find that people lose motivation very quickly. So feedback loops, accountability, and then when it comes to upskilling, what I've always focused on, if you're sending DMs on my behalf, you have to be me in the DMs, right? Because if someone comes from a ad and they've seen me talking a certain way, right, and it's at a certain level, and they look at me and they've, I'm positioned a certain way, and they look at me as an authority, and then they come into the DMs and it feels like they're speaking to someone completely different, completely ruins
bro.
Yeah, yo, bro. So it completely ruins the trust. And so I've always had a focus on, how can I train my appointment setters to sound like me,
Yeah.
understand the language that my ICP speaks. And a lot of that's arguably been the most difficult part, especially with like an AI offer, for example, is like explaining to them that this is what I mean in terms of context engineering. This is what we mean in terms of CPA and LTV. This is the language that you're speaking at.
Yeah.
And I feel like they need to truly understand what they're saying to be able to hold their ground. Because if they're just using buzzwords to sound impressive, they will inevitably slip up. And I've seen it multiple times of like people trying to sound smart. And I'm like, you clearly don't know what you're actually saying because this doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
So yeah, in terms of management, I think it's consistent feedback loops and consistent iteration and training to turn the appointment setter into a person that is worth hopping on calls with. Because like I said to you, it's like when I was in the DMs, I didn't find it particularly hard to book calls because just the way I was talking to people, I was someone that people wanted to hop on calls with.
Yeah.
Whereas if, you've got a setter on your behalf sounding like a just sleazy salesman, quite frankly, people don't want to hop on calls with that guy. So they need to embody your way of talking and your kind of approach and then be able to communicate that in the DMs. And then, again, they'll then be a person that people want to hop on calls with.
Nice. Awesome. So, where do you really see the space like going in the next few years? I feel like we've had conversations about this before. But like, yeah, in the next 2-3 years, where is the agency coaching high ticket space, in your opinion?
I think a very important point, like you said, is that taste is going to be such an important part. People will naturally get to a point, I think, with AI where, and it's already getting pretty close to that. A lot of people are selling the same thing. And so it's less about what you're selling. Like you can get a very similar outcome, in a million different places. It becomes who you're buying from, the person that you resonate most with. And it's weird. I think I've seen a lot of people show up on sales calls that have a banking background, right? And I can't speak for everyone else, but I think that's because I come from a banking background and I've documented that and I've shown that I was in this position. I'm now in this position. And so the people you attract will be the people that resonate with you the most.
Yeah.
And so I think having, your own unique philosophies out there and building a personal brand, I think will be the differentiator, not necessarily the service, because I think a lot of people will just end up selling the same. So I think that will be a really important factor. And then on top of that, I think, when it comes to delivery and whatever services you're selling, a fully AI company where everything that's happening in the background is basically AI will completely outperform a company that's doing it with human capital, and the consumer won't care about the difference. They won't notice the difference. Yeah. Right? Because like after a certain point, it will be indistinguishable. Like right now, maybe only someone who's really good at AI can write really good AI copy compared to a really good copywriter. I don't think in a few years that will be a barrier. I think anyone will be able to download the AI copywriting app that's hottest at the moment and write great copy. Yeah. And the business that they're working with won't care as long as it gets done well. And so after that point, it's all like you're being able to charge a premium price when everything becomes a commodity will literally just be your brand, why they would buy from you, who you are.
I mean, copywriters are really cooked. I'm not gonna lie.
Don't start copywriting today.
Yeah, please don't. I mean, even to the point where like, it's a philosophy thing for me. It's not necessarily like, because I probably think a pro copywriter can still write better copy than AI, but it's gonna take him like a week or like a couple of days to write that copy, right? Especially if he's doing a lot of high volume. Yeah. And that goes against my philosophy, which is that imperfect action is better than perfect, inaction or action that takes
Delayed
a long time.
Action,
especially in an ads context, because testing fast is so valuable. So even if I have copy over here from an AI, which is like 80%, and then copy over here from a human, which is 100%, I'm still going to value this because I can get it instantly.
Copy way quicker.
Exactly. You test faster, especially if you're spending a decent amount. You can test that copy in 2-3 days. Spread that over a year, spread that over 5 years. How many more ads and concepts and winning ads have you found than the guy still using the human copywriter? So it's literally like a philosophy thing for me. Any creative copywriter, whatever, like never again.
It's just too slow nowadays. It's like you can't compete with the people who are pumping out
Yeah.
10 ads a day.
Yeah. So, yeah, couldn't agree more on that. And then in terms of your like workflow, because your workflow is really interesting to me. You are kind of like this guy who basically like you're voice noting things all the time, right? You're like, you don't really like, you're voice noting AI, oh, I've got this idea. And then you're voice noting AI over here, I'll build this. And it's like this weird thing. So can you walk me through a day in the life of an AI expert?
A day in the life of Samson Marks. Okay. So my day is normally split into kind of two parts. So I have my kind of focus time where I'm actively building things, either internal systems or new things that I'm testing out, or I'm learning different things.
Yeah.
Then there's the other side, which is working with clients one-on-one, talking to them, helping them understand the systems that we're implementing, helping them understand how to train the team on them, how to make sure that it's actually adopted and everyone's using it. But then, yeah, I think unique to the way that I work, a lot of it, as you said, is using Whisperflow, which is like a great voice-to-text app if anyone hasn't used it. And basically just having the systems in place and the agents built out, that they work a certain way. And so that when I, am voice noting to them, I'm not necessarily having to re-explain everything that I need to do. So, for example, I'll do a simplified example. If a client needed a landing page, bear in mind we often help with them just because we can, it doesn't really take any time. Instead of me having to go and ideate, put together a prompt and then do this, I simply just voice note and say, okay, go study all the context of this client in the Google Drive. Then, it's a trained AI system that makes prompts for Lovable, gives me a prompt, we put that into Lovable, that's now the website built. And so a lot of the workflow comes from having foundations in place and systems and AI projects in place that already do everything that we do in terms of delivery, so that a lot of my delivery is really just, it's the intake from the client of what they need help with or what they need understanding with or what we're building. And then it's a case of I'm just taking that and giving it to the right system that's already been trained to do that task.
Yeah.
So that's a lot of my current workflow. Does that answer your question?
It does, yeah. What are the core tools or apps that you use?
Okay, so my core tech stack, I'll just go from start to finish. So Whisperflow, don't type anymore ever. It's all just voice. Claude, we use the team plan. I've got the personal max plan as well. We somehow max both of them out every day. That's why we've then got ChatGPT as well as a backup, which we also use for very similar things. Slack, Google Drive, GHL for certain like automations. We get all our clients it as well, just like for access for like CRMs. Completely is what I use to run my whole business on. Like I built that for myself, so that now does everything around our tracking. Then what else have we got? Zapier every now and then. Everyone talks about NA10. I think people are rapidly realizing that it's not particularly useful now.
Really?
Mainly just because everything that you could do with it, you can now arguably just do within Claude. Like you can build workflows in Claude that connect every single different app that NA10 used to be able to. Well, it used to be one of the only ones that was able to do.
Yeah.
Then I think that's basically everything. It's not too many. It's a lot of like AI subscriptions, and then just a few things for organization. But that's, I think, pretty much it.
It's cool. Yeah, I feel like you're not like spread too thin. Like I feel like a lot of guys are like, oh yeah, I use this tool and this tool and this tool and this tool, and they use like 20 different AI tools, and you're just over here and it's like, yeah, Claude.
I try and condense things as much as possible. I feel like a common thing that people face is like what's called like tool sprawl.
Yeah.
In terms of they end up split across a million different platforms, and it's like if you don't have if you need to go look at 5 different analytics page to make a decision, then it's like you don't really have very good data. You want to be able to have, like, I love being able to just have a snapshot view of what's going on in my business and go, okay, this is what needs to change. Let's just focus on that until it's changed, right? Yeah. And I don't feel like having a bunch of different tools enables that.
I also think you end up with a bit of a skill deficiency because you've gone very wide rather than deep into one specific AI tool. And so you end up being a bit mid at using a bunch of different tools rather than being really skilled. Like I think you are at using one specific tool.
Yeah, I agree. I think like people will be quick to go use the newest tool that they've seen in a post or the newest AI model. I think to be honest, I think it's the core understanding that matters more rather than the specific LLM. Like I see people all the time, a new LLM comes out and they're like, this one, what you have to use for this, it's completely changed the game. And I'm like, I bet all the other LLMs do that if you're good enough at training them. So just get good at that.
Yeah. Okay. Do you use much of like Cowork or Claude Code? Because I have to say, I don't really. We haven't really touched those.
No, we haven't. And I think I do personally, yes, use Cowork all the time. My VA uses Cowork all the time as well.
For what?
Main thing is that, okay, if you're using a chat in Claude, for example, you can basically do everything the same, but you're within that chat and you have to be within that chat to have it done. You have to leave it open. Cowork, we can set up multiple sessions, multiple tasks. And so you can outline a set of tasks and you're like, okay, these are 5 things that I want to do. And you can then have different Claude sessions. And this is very similar kind of setup with code as well. You can have different sessions running at once, working on different things. So like, if you compare to the general user who's really just going into chats, asking for different things, and then going back out, going into a new chat, yes, you can open multiple browsers and have it done and it works, right? But for the most part, if you've got tons of different tasks that you're wanting to have happen throughout the day, and oftentimes, like I'll even say to my VA, I'll be like, okay, these are your core tasks for today. These are things that Claude can just be doing in the background. If you can just send in a little prompt around this and send like into this project, and those can then be running whilst you're doing the other work. Like I find that that's a big benefit for a lot of people, is enabling your team to work on the things that they need to work on. But then if AI can do it, have their task to be set up those 5 sessions. And with like Cowork, for example, Claude will plan and then execute on the actual task rather than just like giving you an answer. It'll figure out, how do I achieve this result that the person wants? So that's the kind of benefit for it. When it comes to code, basically for all my clients that I've worked with, you will, for the most part, realize that like it doesn't necessarily add value to someone who's not technical. It's just a new thing that they now have to learn and figure out, which I don't think is beneficial to most founders.
Interesting.
Like most founders don't need to be a developer or understand code to get to where they want to be. And most of the functionality can be done within a basic AI project, which means anyone can use it. And so I think for most teams, they're better off just building projects that do certain tasks that their team can then use easily, rather than trying to train everyone on how to understand Claude Code. And bear in mind, the difference is that it's working in your files on your computer rather than on the web. That's the main difference, right? So instead of, for example, you use Claude, it will search the web, it will do some research, then give you an answer. Claude Code could search all the files on your computer, look through some stuff that's sat in your downloads. It can organize all of those things as well, and then give you an answer, or also execute on different tasks and put it into your folders. So it's really down to preference, and I think for most people you just have to look at like, what's the ease of adoption here? Is it gonna actually be insanely better that we use Claude Code just because everyone's talking about it? For most people, probably not.
Yeah. I think one thing you said to me that was interesting a couple of weeks back is your way of working, and I guess this is probably what you think everyone's way of working will be at some point, is to start in AI or to start in Claude and get it to go out and use Claude to communicate with your various other tools to achieve things. So for example, you know, starting in Claude and getting Claude to go and schedule all your posts, or starting in Claude and getting it to go and edit your files in Google Drive or send an email, right? Rather than going to the actual tool, you just stay in Claude.
Yeah, it's almost like nowadays, and bear in mind, I say to everyone, there's a lot of platforms that have this functionality. I think there's bias towards certain ones. I've always just said to people, like, use the one that works best for you and like works based on your tools and what you're familiar with. Like most of them have the same capabilities. So when it comes to like Claude, ChatGPT now has the same kind of functionality. It's almost become more of a workspace more than anything, right? Because you can connect your Slack, you can connect your CRM, you can connect basically anything, right, into Claude. And now it's a case of, instead of you asking AI for an answer and then getting it to produce something, you take that and go and put it in a file in Google Drive and then organize it yourself.
Yeah.
Instead, you train a project and you send in a voice note saying, oh yeah, we need the ICP document made for this client, go put it in their drive. And that's it. And because it has those connections, it can then go execute on that. And that's the same across the board. So it's like, same thing with Slack. It's like, we use that for team communication, but a lot of the time I don't go and read the messages. I'll just go to Slack and I'll say, give me an update of everything that's happened within our Slack over the last 7 days and anything I should be aware of. Yeah. Same thing with your calendar. You know, I don't necessarily need to go look at my calendar if I'm already working on Claude, open up another chat. You know, what do I have scheduled over this week? What do I need to be prepared for? Do some preparation for me.
Yeah.
You know, those kind of things.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think that's the transition for people, is just no longer needing to go a bunch of different places. If you have a platform like Claude that brings it into one place, you can now act from there and save a lot of time.
Yeah. How do you stay up to date with all this stuff? Because, like, we've already had a chat about this, but, like, I feel like if you're just a normal, you know, if you're an agency owner, if you're a coach, and you're trying to stay up to date with AI by going through your Instagram Explore page, you're just going to get your brain absolutely fried.
Yeah.
You're going to get pulled in 20 different directions, and you're not really, it's probably not going to contribute net productivity. So what's your philosophy on staying up to date?
I think I have a quite unique take on this. I am not constantly trying to necessarily stay up to date with everything. I'm trying to stay up to date with what applies to my business and my clients, right? Yeah. So, but believe it or not, I don't spend a lot of time really consuming any content around AI. I don't follow any of the big names, because I've had plenty of people come to me with ridiculous ideas based on what these big names have told them in their courses and stuff, and I'm like, right, don't want to take that information. So I don't really watch a lot of YouTube tutorials. I don't really consume any Instagram content or hacks. I don't comment the word ever for anything really.
A serious aura loss if you get caught doing
if you
that.
get caught, and if I do, know that I delete the comment immediately after. But yeah, I think in terms of, for me, staying up to date with it, it's through what I'm doing. So it's through what I'm building. I'm always trying to innovate with my own company, the way that we run things and the way that our systems run. And I've always just thought, like, whatever I'm doing, if it's benefiting me, that's what I then want to pass down to my clients. And so as long as I'm consistently innovating for myself and finding new ways to solve my own problems, right, then those are going to be things that are going to also help my clients. And so I think it's really just a case of finding the information that I need, not necessarily overwhelming my stuff with everything that you can do with AI. Like, I could go and learn it if I wanted to, and I'd be able to, but I wouldn't do anything with that information. And so for me, I'll always start with the problem, and I'll start with, what is the bottleneck right now? What is something that would be massively useful? And then I'll go and, number one, if I can build it with my existing understanding, then I'll do that. Yeah. Right. And if I then need to go learn something else to achieve it, then I'll go do that. And that will just be a case of me talking to AI, planning how I'm going to build it. And it then tells you, oh, you'll need to use this tool. And I'm like, okay, I don't know that. And then I'll go learn it. And now that's back in my skill set. But I think for a lot of people who are thinking they should be staying up to date with everything, I think, number one, for most founders, you shouldn't be wasting your time on it. If your goal is not to be an AI expert, then stop trying to be an AI expert. Figure out the problems that you have, and then go to an AI expert and find someone who can then fix those problems with AI, rather than trying to understand everything yourself. Because there's new information every single day, and I think people just overwhelm themselves and then do nothing with it. Yeah, 100%. That's very much me, by the way. I don't relish AI. Like, I love it in the sense that it saves me a lot of money, and I love using it, and I'm very grateful for it. But like, that's the reason I work with you. That's because I want to go look at my marketing, look at my sales, run my company. I really don't want to be like, balls deep in Claude. No, you messing around. You can waste hours, and that's so frustrating. What most people do. Like, if they don't really know what they're doing with it, they'll just play around for 6 hours, waste a day, and not really achieve anything. So yeah. Cool. All right. So I think, I guess one of my final questions for you would be, what's the long-term vision for AI acquisition? Like, where are you going? What are you doing? Is this the company you're going to be running for the next few years? Like, talk me through that. So I've thought about this, and I've been thinking a lot about it recently. My kind of vision for it. So right now we almost sit in the middle of, you've got an agency over here where it's fully done for you, right? Then you've got the consultant that's just giving advice but no implementation. We very much sit in the middle, and I found it's very attractive to people of like, we're going to figure out what needs to change first, and we're going to set the goals first, then build the systems to enable us to hit those goals, rather than the other way around, implementing systems and then hoping that they achieve something. So my goal is to turn it into a company where the average service-based business or agency owner of any kind can access high-level AI without even the need for any kind of done-for-you implementation in the background. So I want to have a bank of systems. I want to have a library of systems, and these are things that we're working on at the moment, that people can just access, customize to themselves without having to go hire a dev or without having to hire, AI engineer to come and build it for them. They will have access to the systems that they need, and they will be kept up to date to a point where we know that this is the top of the market. This is what's working best right now. You now have access to it through working with us. And then my time as a founder and any, for example, CSMs that we hire down the line, our focus is really then just making sure you know how best to use this, you know how best to have a strategy that these systems enable. And then that's really our focus, is not just building tools for people or building new dashboards, but having, through all of the data that we've generated over the last few years, is like knowing the systems that are like market needs, having those accessible to people in a way where they can just purchase them and now have the system for themselves with a few little connections. And then any work that we do with people like personally is very much at a higher level of like, the systems become the less important part because they're there. You can use any of them. Let's figure out what's best for you and what you guys need. So yeah, I mean, I want to become the number one company for kind of just like a service-based business that knows they need to integrate AI and want one kind of hub that actually enables all sides of it, not just the implementation of a tool and then we leave you to it and you have to figure out how to get your team to adopt it yourself. Seen tons of issues around that as well. Like tons of horror stories of companies that I've spoken to. They've gone and hired someone to build an AI system. They've built it, they've gone, and now they're left with a tool that's expensive, hard to get their team to use it. They don't really know how to use it. And that's kind of the problem that we're looking to solve, is the seamless integration and then the actual adoption, so it becomes a new way of working rather than just another kind of like tool on top of everything else.
Yeah, sick. Any talking points you think I've missed?
I don't think so. Maybe it's time for me to ask you some questions.
Yeah? You got questions?
Yeah, I've got a question for you. I mean, what would be, so straight back at you, I guess, what's the goal with Advertising Co? Where do you want to get to with that?
Yeah, man. So, I mean, really, we want to be the leaders in terms of marketing for predominantly agency owners for now, but broadly client-based businesses, really allowing them to learn how to run ads for themselves. Because I still think, I mean, alongside AI, ads and also personal brand, allowing them to really understand their own marketing. But AI and then getting really good at marketing, I think, are two of the highest leverage skills that you can learn. And so, like, I just see a lot of agency owners leaving so much money on the table by not maximizing their marketing, and they're kind of glorifying and procrastinating a lot with their fulfillment, which, don't get me wrong, fulfillment's very important. But they're leaving a lot of money on the table with their marketing. They're not, building a personal brand. They're spending like $50 a day on ads, not 1,000. Like in different industries, people think so much bigger. Like in e-com, in info, or like very high productizable info, these guys are spending thousands of dollars a day on ads. And I don't understand why agency owners aren't thinking that big. They're just thinking like, obviously I get it. If you scale up very hard,
there's a cap on it. They feel like, we're at £100 a day. We got to, can't do more than that. Yeah. And it's like your goal should be to get that as high as possible. Yeah, exactly. Like I honestly think anyone who comes to me for coaching and to go through my program, like my end goal with you, like I don't feel like I've finished working with you until we've gotten you to the point where you're spending like $1,000 a day on ads. You know what I mean? Yeah. And even $1,000 a day is considered low in a lot of other industries. Right? And we really, our goal is to help you build a system where you can put $1 in and $3 out. Like that's really my tagline is, how can we help you build a system, whether it's through boosting content or building a VSL funnel or building a webinar funnel or building lead forms where you can put $1 in and you're going to get $3 out. You can build a bit of a conveyor belt. You buy clients, you shift from. Exactly. Yeah, I think that's really my mission, is
trying to show people how to get into a position where they can literally buy their clients or buy profit. In other words, you know.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what I'm working on.
Sick.
Yeah. Nice. Well, appreciate you coming on, man.
Mate, appreciate you having me. It's been a pleasure. Thoroughly enjoyed.
Sweet.